haircut. A warm welcome to all on the other side of the screen. I am the Overly Positive Fanboy, and today's Overly Positive review is She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. Jennifer Walters is a lawyer at the top of her game until a car accident and some blood contamination from her cousin Bruce Banner's contaminated blood turns her into a Hulk. Now, Jennifer must balance her newfound strength and confidence with her career and dating life. Now, we all know the deal by now of these MCU shows. They're basically 6-hour movies with a tone fairly similar to their big screen cousins. Well, I'm pleased to report that She-Hulk Attorney at Law is just like WandaVision, a breath of fresh air of its own unique tone and style. Where that show apes the trappings of classic sitcoms in near-perfect homage, this series ramps up the comedy, playing up the inherent absurdity of a superhero universe by showcasing how it affects the legal system. Want to see court cases involving shape-shifting elves, not-so-phony stage magicians, immortal marriage dodgers, and incompetent superhero wannabes? It's all here, alongside a grab bag of Marvel characters both new and familiar. Abomination, Leapfrog, Mr. Immortal, Porcupine, Wong, and of course, you can't have a superhero lawyer show without the most famous superhero lawyer around.
I'm here.
Yep, after all these years, Daredevil is finally back, and it is so good to see him again. Charlie Cox is killing it in the role, and his obvious enthusiasm for the part shows in his performance. Plus, She-Hulk allows him to show off Daredevil's more jokey side, which makes sense given that this show is a comedy. Also, Daredevil isn't always a dark and moody character, so for anyone who only knows him from the Netflix series, he is actually allowed to make jokes. Of course, I can't go on in this review without talking about the star of the show. Tatiana Maslany gives an excellent performance as Jennifer and as She-Hulk. She's charismatic, funny, insecure, able to pull off the increased confidence when she transforms. Plus, she's our first fourth wall-breaking MCU protagonist, and Maslany sells that as well. It's just all good stuff. The supporting cast is also quite fun here, including Jen's family, her paralegal friend Nikki and co-worker Pug, her other co-worker Dennis, who is just the worst. Plus, she gains a rival in superpowered influencer Titania, played to perfection by Jamila Jamil. And how could I forget Madison, with 2 N's, 1 Y, but it's not where you think. Oh, and for anyone wondering about Jen's famous cousin, Bruce Banner is in the show. For 1 episode. He basically only plays a major role in her origin story, then makes a couple of sporadic appearances throughout the rest of the series, which is pretty much what I was expecting him to do in the first place. After all, this is Jennifer Walters' story, not Bruce Banner's. Plus, how crazy is it that Abomination is back after having not been seen since 2008's The Incredible Hulk movie? The fact that the most forgotten MCU movie in existence is finally getting a proper follow-up through this series is wild to me. And Tim Roth takes the villain to some interesting new places across his episodes. Now, I've already discussed the legal comedy side of things, but did you know that this show is also a romance series? No, seriously, a considerable chunk of the screen time is devoted to Jen's dating life. And you know what? Dating sucks. Seriously, I think we get a rundown of nearly every bad date possible. Not to mention the extra problem of men preferring She-Hulk to Jen. It just makes things all the more sweeter when she does finally find someone who likes both sides of her. And speaking of men, one thing this show does really well is satirize misogyny. Seriously, this is such an accurate portrayal of how some men view women, you'd think that Marvel had tons and tons of evidence to use as inspiration or something. And that's without mentioning the more casual misogyny that can still be present in society as a whole. It's honestly so funny to me that Jen does a whole rant in the first episode about how women have to master controlling their emotions because every single day they have to deal with patronization, degradation, and overall nonsense. and then some dudes in real life complained about this scene, thus proving her point. So in a stupid MCU show, She-Hulk, totally ripping off the male Hulk, but with boobs, like, ew, gross. Anyway, so, as you all remember in the first episode, She-Hulk did this stupid rant about how she has it much worse than male Hulk does because she gets catcalled sometimes. Male Hulk got beaten up by Thanos, you emotional, difficult imposter. And anyway, episode 3 has done something even more disgusting by having a credit scene where She-Hulk twerks, showing off her disgusting butt everywhere. Everyone knows that girls have cooties and butts are full of poo, so therefore it is scientifically proven that girls' butts are full of pooties. I can't believe this is how low Marvel have sunk these days, where they're just throwing pooties in all of their stories. This kind of practice is disgusting, and I, for one, will not stand for this woke garbage.
Get! I am so sorry for that, folks. I have no idea how he got here. This isn't even his show.
Okay, I've discussed what I like about this show. Any negatives? A couple. While I'm pleased to report that She-Hulk avoids the pacing issues present in this Marvel and Moon Knight, it's still not perfect. For starters, despite being a legal comedy, we have to wait until the 3rd episode to actually get the superhuman court cases we were promised. That time spent beforehand is understandable since we have to get the origin story out of the way, and then get Jen her new job at the prestigious law firm doing the superhuman law division. But that long wait was still weird when watching it weekly. So, this will probably be perfectly fine binging. Also, She-Hulk is a CGI character, even though they could easily have gone the Lou Ferrigno method. I get why they went the way they did though. They obviously wanted Tatiana Maslany's performance for both sides of the character. It's still a little odd though, especially since we now have to deal with a protagonist who may not fully hold up alongside other CGI Marvel characters. Lastly, there's the meta-humor. The sensational She-Hulk comic that started this approach to the character was famous for playing with the medium of comics. Jen would argue with the writer, notice when the artist had changed, use the ad space as a shortcut to get to the bad guy. Now, since you obviously can't do all that on TV, this show mainly opts for the typical talk to the camera tactic, which isn't quite as ambitious. However, the key word here is mainly. They do start experimenting down the road, and boy do they go for it. Seriously, you will not be prepared for what the finale does. In short, She-Hulk Attorney at Law is a fun time with great characters and a fresh perspective on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I eagerly hope for a season 2 and await the craziness to come.
Well, that was She-Hulk Attorney at Law, and this has been Overly Positive Reviews. Tune in next time as we return to a fantasy IP no one ever really expected to be revisiting again. Bye!